We've learned a North Texan has been identified as one of the service members killed in an Iranian attack on a military base in Jordan over the weekend. Private Isabella was just 19 years old and from Carrollton. Lieutenant Tyler James Feehan, a 25-year-old from Hawaii, was also killed. But again, this is breaking news that we've learned just overnight that this is Isabella Gonzalez from Carrollton. She was killed in the attack there in Jordan.
Hey, shalom, shalom, all praises, honor, glory goes to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Racha, Wadash. Double honors to the apostles, bishops, elders, a great millstone, who rule well. Peace and blessings to you fellow brothers pushing this word in truth and sincerity. Shabbat Chanak, coming back with another lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh. Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Racha, Wadash. Shalom, shalom to the Lord's elect. Peace. Okay, this is going to be an in-transit lesson. This is based upon recent news as of today. I actually heard this last night because it's from the other side of the world. As you know, West Asia, also known as the Middle East, and the tension and the escalations that are going on out there are affecting the global economy, and things have escalated even more. Now, I have the title for the video. It can change a little bit. I'll work that out post-production, and you should probably already seen a video that I put. If not, I'm gonna put it in the comment board description box. It's just a quick video. This is a quick video of basically it was a troop individual that got taken out there by Iran due to strikes. Whether I believe it was either a drone or some type of ballistic missile, and it was a woman. Okay, it was a woman, and from the looks of her last name and kind of how she looks, she looked like a Latin tribe. Okay, so the title of this video is "Women Will Die in the Wars," and the Strait of Let me see. Mandeb is closed. Okay, and again, I'll work that out. I didn't pronounce that correctly, but if you Google that, it's BAB-L Mandeb. Okay, and this is a strait. Okay, where natural gas crude goes through. It's west of the Strait of Hormuz. It's on the other side. I'll read a little bit on the Wikipedia, but basically the Houthis, which are basically control large parts of Yemen, some call them a proxy of Iran, but they close that strait, and that's another major choke point. Excuse me, that's another major choke point that have been shut down. For example, you have like prairie dogs. I'm using this as an example. You have prairie dogs, right? And what they do, they build tunnels underground, and they'll have different type of exits. You know, they'll come up from one hole, but there may be 5, 6, 7, 8 holes where they can come up from, right? And how do you trap them? Or you cut off their exit routes. So basically, we're in a stage where it's over. Okay, the economy is going to collapse. I'm not saying it's going to collapse tomorrow. Maybe it might be, but pretty much all these, and hopefully that was a good explanation. I didn't go too deep into it. For example, all these major events that are happening that seem benign, they're all going to lead to the collapse of the global society. Okay, and this is all part of the plan. Okay, this is all part of the plan to crash the global economy and bring in the NWO. Okay, which is going to be filled with digital currencies, and ultimately it's going to be transferred to the market of beasts. Okay, but all these world economies have to be destroyed, and what is a good way? By cutting off energy. For example, if you wake up in the morning and you have no energy, you have no energy to get out of bed, you have no energy to wash your face, you can't even get to the bathroom, you can't go to work, everything stops. There's nothing you can do. So that's basically what's getting ready to happen. And we'll get some scriptures. One scripture that comes in mind is Ecclesiastes, the 12th chapter, when the doors of the street shall be shut. But you saw that video, Lord's will, I put it there. You have a woman, a Latin woman, that got killed over there in one of those bases out there in the GCC, one of those Gulf nations, whether it was Bahrain, whether it was Qatar. Because what happened is the United States is constantly bombing. It's the ninth night that the United States bombed Iran, and they're destroying the strategic infrastructure, bridges and desalination plants and telecommunications, right? So pretty much Iran is bombing the US out of the Middle East and with their allies. And then now you have the Houthis that shut down another strait where natural gas was coming out of, or crude oil. Okay, and you have women that our women that are in these in the military, you know, whether they go, you know, for better opportunity, you know, they didn't have nothing else going for them, or, you know, their father or their grandfather was in the military, they had that spirit on them. And we know that them women that go up in there, they get tossed around. Them is some of the biggest whores. Okay, women in the military and law enforcement, they get tossed, you know, from, you know, and they work their way up, if you know what I mean. But you over there, you getting sent over there, you gonna die over there. Okay, you got women that's in the National Guard. You got women that's in the Army, in the Navy, in, you know, in all forms and branches of military, and in police, and you know, first responders that are going to be on the front line. They're going to get taken out. So any of our women that are in the military that get sent over there, you're gonna die over there. Okay, and we have an example of what appear to be an Israelite woman get blasted. Okay, bear with me. And remember, Yahweh B'Shem Al Shai is not a respecter of persons. Okay, and then for the other set of news, it's the Bab el Mandeb, okay, Strait. Let me read a little bit of it. This is from the Wikipedia. The Bab el Mandeb is a strait and a major global choke point between Yemen on the Arabian Peninsula and Djibouti and Eritrea in the Horn of Africa, connecting the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden and the Indian Ocean. Let me read a little bit down. Bear with me, because I wanted to know how much. I've heard about this, and you had a couple of analysts basically say months back that this is a possibility that this global choke point will get cut off. You have major global choke points where global trade is happening. Remember, most trade happens through the sea, and once those choke points get cut off, then the economy crashing is accelerated. The global collapse is accelerated because goods are not coming in. Goods are not moving to and fro because of war. And then that's gonna bring what? Famine. What else is that gonna bring? Disease. What else is that gonna bring? Conflict. Okay, conflict in these different states because the people are going to be mad at the government. So sedition. You're going to have skirmishes or civil wars. Okay, ultimately death. Also diseases is going to collapse in essential services. Okay, then ultimately what's going to happen? You're going to need a large army to go and fight the war. So now you're going into a wartime economy now. It's the perfect storm. Okay, in 2006, an estimate of 3.3 million barrels, 520. Give me a second. 3.3 million barrels of oil passed through the strait per day. Okay, out of a total of about 43 million barrels per day. All right, so it's actually a small amount, but that's in 2006. It actually is more now. Okay, Give me a sec, because you have, this is maybe 5%. This is probably 5% of global energy trade, possibly. Okay, and you have, what's it called, the Strait of Hormuz, which is 20%. So right there, you got at least 25% of global crude oil stopped. Not to mention other goods that flow through the strait. It's just not crude oil. It's just not natural gas, energy. You have fertilizers and other, rare earth minerals, helium, these essential minerals that are needed for modern life. So learn how to not have a lot. Okay, learn how to go without, the benefits of what is it, first world. Learn how to live like a third world. Give me a second. I'm at the park, and then I'm gonna get some scriptures and we'll close it. Give me a second. One moment. Okay. Let's see. Okay, this rose by 2014 to 5.1 barrels, 5.1 million barrels per day of crude oil. Okay, and then it said, let's see, and refined petroleum products headed towards Europe, the United States, and Asia, and an estimate of 6.2 by 2018. Okay, so it's been rising year over year. Okay, now, okay, there we go. In 2017, total petroleum flows through the Bab el Mandeb Strait accounted for about 9%. See, 9%. My estimate was lower of total seaborne traded petroleum, crude oil, and refined petroleum product. There's a lot of your modern medicine. Your modern medicine are your pharmaceuticals. Those are refined petroleum products. A lot of your skincare, a lot of things that you don't know, that is a refined petroleum, byproduct. Hey, you get used to not seeing things on the shelf. You're gonna find out that a lot of things, plastic. Just getting most of your food is packaged in plastic. Okay, those are all refined petroleum based products. Okay, and about 3.3 million barrels moved north towards Europe. Another 2.6 flowed in the opposite direction, mainly to Asian markets such as Singapore, China, and India. And the thing is, pretty much America strategically is cutting off China, and cutting off the global south, as they call it, and making them more dependent on U.S. gas. So they got to buy at a higher price from the U.S. Okay, and also Europe is exposed. Okay, Europe is exposed, so this is going to cause global conflict, basically a global collapse. But let me get this Ecclesiastes 12. So it accounted for 9%, right? 9%. The Strait of Hormuz is 20%. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna ask chat too. I'm gonna read the scripture and then I'm gonna ask chat, if these two straits are closed, all right, how would that affect the global economy? So I'm gonna read this and then we're gonna look that up. Okay. Ecclesiastes 12:3. In the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall bow themselves. Okay, and the grinders cease because they are few. If there's no energy flowing, remember, these modern societies, even these emerging economies, like India, well, China is industrialized already. They were industrialized going back. Starting in the 60s. Okay, they were built up to be basically the factory of the world. All right, and all the global south, the Southeast Asian countries, Japan, Korea, they're pretty much they get pretty much all their energy from the GCC, all right, which are those Gulf Arab nations. All right, so they're going to be cut off. That's going to make their economies crash. Remember, this is a global crash. And what's going to happen? Well, they're going to put in places where work from home, energy lockdowns, right? Then they're going to have to go to the excuses, digital currencies. Okay, and these digital currencies are going to be tied to social credits or digital IDs, because you're going to have rampant crime, and we need a lockdown and on this crime, and everything's going to be tied to your digital ID, your biometrics. So all these dominoes are going to crack. You're going to start to see major nations start to implode. In America is going to be saved for last, because America has they're not affected from this as much as these other nations are affected, like China, like Japan, like North Korea or South Korea. North Korea too. Okay. And this is why the nations are going to have to go to war, because you're basically putting this is a siege, right? This is so this is why prepare war. Joel, the 3rd chapter. And all your analysts, all your ex-military, all your analysts, okay, they're like, hey, this is not, you can't at this point. They're saying, I was watching a video earlier with Colonel Douglas McGregor, not Douglas McGregor, but what's his name, Daniel Davis. Okay, he had a guy on there. His last name was Crook. It was a really good analysis, and he basically was saying that, hey, look, we're at a point where Trump can't de-escalate. Like, no, you're damned if you do, you damned if you don't. The measures that Trump is doing, which he's back, he's just a puppet. But you can't de-escalate at this point. Everything's escalation. It's hard. Basically, it's hard to de-escalate right now. You can't just walk away, because this is prophecy. This is not going nowhere, and it's going to come to a point to where it's going to affect you. We'll get that in I believe that's 2nd Ezra's. It's either the 6th or the 8th chapter. Okay, it's going to affect you at the table. It's going to affect how you live. We're going to have hyperinflation. Okay, what is that? Revelation the 6th, is that the 6th chapter? A measure of meat for a penny. Okay, basically a measure of wheat for a penny, basically a whole day's wage. The penny represents a whole day's wage just for bread, just for a meal. Okay, and the strong men shall bow themselves. Let's look at this word bow. Let's look at this word strong. Okay, and we're gonna look at the word bow. Chayal. Strength, might, efficiency, wealth. So these individuals with, that are mighty in wealth, okay, they're gonna bow themselves. We're gonna look at this word bow. All right, so your rich niggas, basically, your celebrities, okay. Well, a lot of your tech billionaires, they already got bunkers, like you're super rich. You're super rich. They're not gonna be in America. They know better. They're going to be somewhere else, tucked away, hiding. Okay, let's go bow. I wat. To be bent, be crooked, bend, make, crooked, pervert, subvert. To bend oneself, to falsify, pervert, subvert. Okay, overthrow. Turn upside down. Bow self. So bow thyself. Pretty much they're going to be humbled. They're not going to know what to do. They're going to be scrambling. They're going to be afraid, which is going to warrant them to run in those bunkers. Okay, this is the time we're in. Okay, and what symbolizes this? Well, you got troops over there in that region dying. They literally, and you women. Okay, you women that are in those forces, and you in the military. your ass, you gonna get drafted too. You gonna have women that's gonna get drafted too. Now, mainly it's gonna be the man, absolutely, because you're gonna see how the women are gonna melt during this time. They're gonna go back to being that feminine woman. You're gonna start to see women like really look you in the eyes and like with fear and like that pick me, like, save me, please. I'll do anything. Get used to, as this shit go down, get used to women being very, very nice to you, very welcoming, very humble. Okay, they're going to be looking at the men of the Lord like salvation, because that's what it is. That's what the Lord set up. It's no more, get my Instagram. It's no more, I don't know, I'm not looking for somebody right now. I'm not this, I'm not that, because they don't see you as ultimately salvation. They don't see you as protection. Okay? You just another guy. And they have the pick from the litter. Okay? Get used to your family member calling, saying what's going on. Get used to exes calling you. Get used to your brother that you didn't talk to for 10 years. Because y'all had a falling out. Get used to your auntie calling you, the one that said you was in a cult. And you worship Satan. Get used to people looking at you different and asking you, like, why would you asking me these questions for? Go ask the so-called white man. Right? Because even these people that are these affluent people, so-called, they're gonna bow themselves. Okay? We might get Isaiah 19, but I'm not going to make it too long. And the grinders cease because they are, so there ain't going to be no work. Everybody, they pride themselves on having a good position. You got a lot of Jakes that have good jobs. They live in high rises, condos. The black woman, she driving a BMW, Mercedes, and they'll look down on you. They'll look down on you because you don't have the latest fashion. You don't have the latest purse or whatever it may be, the shoes, right? But they're all gonna be humbled, okay? And ultimately, everybody is going to be presented with taking the RFID microchip, which is the mark of the beast, okay? And those that look out of the windows be darkened, which represents what? It represents your future. The future is going to be dark. Yahweh Shai told us it. He said these are the days of sorrow. Okay, and we're in the house of sorrow. Okay, so you can see how strategically the Most High has been, refining us in the furnace of adversity. Are you waking up your head? Like, what the fuck is going? Like, you just catching hell every day. You're like, God damn. I mean, it's not always bad all the time, but it's pretty bad all the time. Okay, but it's really that spiritual battle, okay, in which we're fighting, okay. And the doors shall be shut in the streets when the sound of grinding is low, when all the jobs, when everything is shut down. You're gonna see a whole nother level. We're going into a whole nother, again, things are not slowing down, things are only escalating. There is no de-escalation. There is no things are gonna return back to normal. Your 10-year plan. You're gonna start working on your 10-year plan. Okay, you're gonna buy this house. You're gonna set up. You're gonna get a plot of land. You're gonna start growing tomatoes and corn. Fuck that. That's done. And if you got that mindset, you literally not in the right spirit, because all the signs are saying the end. But if you, okay, I had a call. Let me just make sure this video's going on. I remember I did a lesson the other day, almost an hour and 24 seconds were recorded. I was hurt. Not too bad, but I already you already know. Let me just go back. Sirach 12:4. And the doors shall be shut in the streets when the sound of the grinding is low. Okay, I got another call. Give me a second. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. I'm like, man, I never get calls. Well, sometimes I do. I actually do. But, like, come on. When I'm doing a lesson, let me turn on Do Not Disturb. Okay. How do you do that? I don't even know. Okay. All right. Okay. Lord's will is still going. Let me see if I can finish the scripture. And the door shall be shut. This is verse 4. In the streets, when the sound of the grinding is low, and he shall rise up at the voice of the bird, and the daughters of music shall be brought low. Isaiah 24 says, let me get it. Let me just get it real quick. I mean, that whole chapter is just amazing. Right? Right, let me start at 7. Isaiah 24:7. The new wine mourneth, the vine languisheth, all the merry-hearted do sigh. Why? Because it's going to get progressively worse. And if you were to look back after you're in it, and then you were to look back, then you can see the signs where they say hindsight is 20/20, something like that, right? But basically, while you're going through it, if you can't identify, if you don't know the language, like the Heavenly Father Yahweh through His Son Yahweh Shai, they're speaking right now. Okay, it's just like the language of the body. You don't want to ignore the language of the body, the symptom. Okay, if you're getting numbness in your hand and your shoulder, especially your left side, and you're ignoring it, you're having some, circulation issues, and you're kind of ignoring it. You're drinking, you're not sleeping right, you're not eating right, and then you get a heart attack, right? Then afterwards, you be like, oh, these were the signs. Well, if you were listening and you knew the sign, you were already being spoken to. Okay, you were already being spoken to. So Yahweh Shemal Shai, He's speaking right now through the signs, through the wonders, through the effects. Okay, through the stars, the moon, the sun, the moon, the stars. Okay, the different astrological events that are happening, the chariot sightings, the Israelites waking up. Okay, the teaching, Esau making his move, the so-called illuminated ones. Okay, they're releasing all different type of bacterias and parasites. The Lord is speaking through the plagues. I shall smite Egypt again with plague. But if you do not know the language, right? 2nd Ezra the 9th chapter goes into that. All these are for amendment, right? The different plagues were for amendment, but they were not always mindful. Their mind was not on these things. They couldn't understand and interpret the language of the Heavenly Father. And then you have the prophets charming never so wisely, charming never so wisely, excuse me. And what are the people doing? They're stomping their ears, starting with Esau, Edom. Jake is coming against it. Jake don't want to have nothing to do with it. Jake is saying it's demonic. Esau I don't want to hear it. We got to get them off the street. Jake is like, no, they're demonic. You got to stay away from them Hebrew Israelites. Right? They're making color a religion. It says, the mirth of tabrets ceaseth, the noise of them that rejoiceth endeth. The joy of the harp ceaseth. It's going to stop. The party is over. Pretty much we're at the last song. This is the last song. So you Americans, you need to fucking dance your heart out. This is your last song. After that, you can't pay the DJ, okay, to keep going. Okay, you can't pay the club promoter to keep going. Okay, the fire department is coming in and destroying it, or the fire department is coming in and saying this place cannot. What is the word? I forget the word. Where they come in, they'll pretty much shut it down. Okay, this place is getting shut down, and ultimately, it's a burning building. It's a burning building, okay, and you Americans are partying, and the building is burning, and the fire's coming to you. but you're fanning it off because you don't feel the heat yet. Okay? Because you're on drugs. Okay, you're on acid spiritually. Okay, you just locked into just moving to the beat. Okay? And elect getting the fuck up out of there. Are the mirth of tabret ceaseth, the noise of them that rejoiceth endeth, the joy of the harp ceaseth. They shall not drink wine with a song. Strong drink shall be bitter to them that drink it. There you go. So they shall not drink wine with a song. Like basically that whole music industry shit, all that folly and mirth, that shit's gone. You're gonna be in a state of perpetual war until you're destroyed. One thing after another. Collapse. Everything's collapsing. Then Esau, he's gonna come in and basically offer you that chip and try to bring things back to normal, the new normal. But that's gonna be it. You're gonna get burned up. Okay, so let me just Google this real quick. Okay. The AI Google. If the Strait. Okay, let me just do it like this. How would the global economy be affected if the Strait of Hormuz and Bab el Mandeb was closed? Okay, AI overview. A simultaneous closure of the Strait of Hormuz and Bab el Mandeb would trigger an unprecedented global economy crisis, halting roughly 25% of world's oil and gas and 10 to 12% of global trade. The resulting energy shock could send oil prices surging 100 to 200 per barrel, crippling global supply chains, increasing manufacturing costs, and triggering rampant inflation. Something has to give. That shit was just closed. Something has to give. They're gonna have to do something. The closure of these two vital checkpoints would impact the global economy in severe key ways. Crippling energy markets. Shutting the Strait of Hormuz immediately strands millions of barrels of Persian Gulf oil and liquefied natural gas, LNG. The subsequent closure of Bab el Mandeb cuts off critical workarounds. So, and I was hearing this from particular analysts, basically you still have that the Strait of El Mandeb, right? That was open. So that was a workaround. So if things weren't flowing through Hormuz, you can kind of bring everything around to the other side. Okay. The subsequent closure of Bab el Mandeb cuts off critical workarounds such as Saudi Arabia east-west pipeline to the Red Sea, severing a key global relief valve and resulting in massive worldwide energy shortfalls. Okay. So that's cutting 25%, okay, of global trade of energy. Okay, and then it said 10 to 12 of global trade, triggering rampant inflation. For example, right? Say you make $1,000. Say your paycheck is $1,000 a month, or whatever it may be, $1,000 a week. It doesn't matter. Let's just use 1,000. Okay. 25% of that. What is that? That's 700. That's $250. Okay. So that means you're only getting $750. Right? So you're down $250. If and that's a week. Say your check is $1,000 a week, so you're making $4,000 a month, right? In 1 week, less 25% of that, that's 250. So you're making, what is that? 250, 500. That's $1,000. So you're making $1,000 less a month. Okay, yeah, I could have did it easier. If it's 4,000, then it's 1,000. You take away 1,000. So you're doing work for 4,000, but you're only getting $3,000 a month. But your bills are over or close to 4,000. How can you survive? You're gonna have to cut back. You're gonna have to cut back on your Netflix. You're gonna have to not be able to buy too many steaks. Okay, you're gonna have to cut down on your traveling. You might not be able to travel and go to Mexico. Go to that trip. Okay. 4 times 12 in a year, so that's 48. What was that? 48,000 a year. Okay. That's 36,000. So that's $12,000 less in a year. That's big. That's big. And then what else? What if something else happens? Right? Soaring shipping costs. With vessels forced to bypass the region entirely, such as navigating the entirety of Africa transit times, fuel consumption and maritime insurance premiums would skyrocket. This directly translates to severe delay for customer goods, electronics, and agricultural products. It's through. You're done. It's done. It's done. Regional and industrial stagnation. Europe would face severe industrial and manufacturing disruptions due to cut off supply lines. Yeah, they're more affected. Remember, that whole region, Europe is part of that. Europe is West Asia. Okay. While developing economies, particularly across Asia and Africa, would face food security threats, severe fertilizer shortages, and unsustainable debt burden. See, it's done, man. It's done. Something has to happen. Right? Something has to happen. Let me go to. So we see how things can happen quickly. Now they might open it back up. We'll see. We'll see what's going on, right? But ultimately, it's not looking good. All right. Let's just bring this out. Yep. I'm gonna go to the point. 2nd Ezra 6 and 22. And suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown. The full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty. Okay, those were your food depots, your grain depots. Okay, you're not gonna have those big ass freezers where they store all the meat and freeze the meat. That's gonna be done. Well, it costs money to freeze everything. It costs money. Remember, refrigeration is a big part of how you're able to get fresh produce. The invention of refrigeration. But if refrigeration runs off what? Fuel. Everything runs off fuel. Everything runs off energy. Okay, solar power, that infrastructure is not sufficient enough to run these economies. Okay? Everything's going to go up. So this is going to affect all your prices. Hyperinflation. Am I saying that's going to happen instantly right now? We don't know. But here, what does it say? And suddenly, that's what the scriptures say. Shall the sown places appear unsown? The full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty. And the trumpet shall give a sound. which when every man heareth, they shall be suddenly afraid. So it's going to come upon the people suddenly. 1 Thessalonians 5 and the 5th chapter. The Lord is going to come as a thief in the night. This is all a sign of Yahushua coming back. Okay, and it's Esau's job, the devil, to try to distract you from that very point. Oh, these are just things that happen, and this and that. There's no scientific proof. Actually, this happened 100 years ago. Like, you know what I mean? He's gonna do whatever he can do, and if you believe it, he's just gonna come at you and try to destroy you. And that's the point. We're gonna come to a position where, our faith is gonna be challenged unto death. Okay, you're gonna have to be ready. You're gonna have to be ready to perish, because he's gonna come with that hammer. This is all mind you. This is all man made. This is all engineered, because the Strait was open before Trump went over there, and which is really not Trump, but America went over there and attacked Iran. Okay, because remember, Iran was the last of those 7 nations that they wanted to take down within 5 years, but it took a lot longer. Okay, because Iran is not on that. They don't have a central bank. They're not on that banking system. Remember, the elites, they want to take everything. They want everything. They even want to be inside you. At that time shall friends fight one against another like enemies. Why? It tells in the 15th chapter, because of was it the lack of resources, lack of bread, and for great tribulation, they shall have swords in their hands. Basically, everybody's gonna be killing everybody. Everybody's gonna be shooting everybody to get goods. They're gonna go house to house. Okay, it's gonna get that bad, and it's gonna be sudden, and it's gonna be like, what the fuck happened? We were just partying. We just had the Super Bowl party. We was just watching. We just had the World Cup. We had the wings and the tacos, and I just had my daughter's birthday. I just came back. I literally just came back from Jamaica. I was just at school. I'm getting ready to graduate, and then all of a sudden, all this shit happened. Can you imagine how these people are, when their world crumbles? We just read that in Ecclesiastes, the 12th chapter. Those that look out of the windows shall be darkened. The reason why people are so enthusiastic is because America has nothing but opportunity. If you focus and put your time and your effort. For example, you are Jake and you want to become a doctor. You can literally become a doctor. Like, if Jake wanted to become a doctor, you can literally study your ass off. Okay, do all the necessary things to become a doctor. Get the loans, go to the school, get good grades, just give your heart and your soul to study to become you can become a doctor. If Jake wanted to be a lawyer, Jake could be a lawyer. If you wanted to do, now I'm not saying these things are not hard. You're not going to have any opposition against you. That you're not going to suffer, racism, systematic racism. Nah, I'm not saying that. But you can do it. If you want to start a business, you want to create if you good in engineering, you good in computers, you could. America is a land of opportunity. So these people, they have a good outlook, even though things are not looking good, because there's so much opportunity, and America is a safe place or safe space, even though we know it's not. But this is how they perceive it. Okay, this is America is. There's nowhere else in the world like America. The other nations, they try to mimic it, but there's no other place like America, man. Okay, it's do as thou wilt. You can have sex with anybody, anything, multiple people at once. You can identify as a man if you're a woman. You could identify as a woman if you're a man. You can be a man one day and a woman the next day. It don't matter. Nobody's really going to judge you like that. You know what I mean? Like, you could be a minor attracted person. It's just weird, right? It says, and the earth shall stand in fear with those that dwell therein. It's going to be great fear. because that trumpet is going to be blown. Basically, the trumpet is going to be blowing so loud that you can't ignore it. You know, like that annoying fire alarm. Okay, like, you know, you pull a fire alarm in a building, you know, where you like, it's going to get your attention. If you were knocked out sleep, it's going to wake your ass up. If you were watching TV, it's going to drown out the TV. If you were partying, it's going to stop the party. Okay? If you were cooking, you got to turn that motherfucking stove off. Okay? Because what is that a sound of? A sound of something that's fucking wrong and can be life threatening. So this is where we're at, where the sound is going to be life threatening, cutting off 25% of global, as far as crude oil and NGL, natural, or NLG, natural liquefied gas, in 10 to 12 percent of global trade. If that's what it said, what did it say? Yes. 10 to 12% of global trade. Oh, well, that's not a lot. You know, we're gonna be fine. Us Americans, we're gonna get through it. We're gonna persevere. See, the ignorance of a mindset like that is you don't understand what's going on. The Heavenly Father is literally plaguing you. He wants to destroy America, and he's going to destroy America. And nothing is going to stop Yahweh Basham Shai from destroying America. Okay, so right now the Lord's just you in boxing, you just getting hit with the jab, step jab to the body, step jab to the head, get hit with a little body punch. The Lord's just breaking you down right now before he hit you with that right, and that's Yahweh Shai coming back. That's the nuclear missiles coming to destroy you. Okay, before that you're gonna feel a lot of pain. $200 a barrel gas. Your gas gonna be $15 a gallon. Bread gonna be $50 a loaf. Where the government's going to have to come in and they're going to have to do emergency measures. They're going to have to do wartime rationing. Okay, they're going to have to do, blockades. They're going to do energy lockdowns. The Lord going to be hitting you with earthquakes like Venezuela. Okay, it's going to be real nasty. Am I here? Yeah, I'm done there. Let me see. No, let me read the next verse. Whosoever remaineth from all these that I have told thee shall escape and see my salvation in the end of your world. So the miracle is that the elect, let me get that. We'll finish there. I was going to go to Ezekiel 9, but we'll just go here, finish here. All right. The miracle is that the elect are going to actually be saved from these things. Okay. They're going to go through the famine. They're going to be saved through the plague. They're going to be saved through the troops. They're going to be saved through, Esau coming in the prison system, the different extreme weather events. Okay, and ultimately the nuclear missiles. The elect, they're going to be beamed up. Okay, that's our hope. Could you imagine being here and not having that as hope? Because what's going to happen is the people are going to realize that, like, nobody's coming to save them. Like, the Christians are going to realize that Jesus is not coming. Islam, the Muslims, they're going to realize that Allah, that nigga ain't here. So that's going to turn these people to, really trust and bow down under the fear of death of Esau. And there's going to be nothing but plague and torment and sorrow on all sides. Like, Esau's going to get what he wants, and he's going to cause as much pain as possible. That's his job. Revelation 15:2. And I saw, as it were, a sea of glass mingled with fire, and them that had gotten victory over the beast, over his image, and over his mark, and over the number of his name, stand on the sea of glass, having the harps of the Most High. And that's the elect. John saw this vision. That's the elect in the chariot looking down, okay, upon the lake of fire, which is America on fire. Because this is all going to lead to these nations are shooting missiles on America. Because when you look back on it, it was all America's fault. Like, just chill, bro. but he is as death and cannot be satisfied. He enlarges his desire as hell. Esau wants it all. See, that's what these nations are going to finally come to the realization, is that this is a cancer. And the only way, okay, to stop the spread is to destroy it. And that's essentially that evil thought's going to come into Russia's mind, which is going to be the main enemy of America. Okay. And they've been telling America for years, all right, that you really don't want to do that. Okay. You really don't want to do that because we have nuclear missiles that cannot be invaded. Okay. We have nuclear missiles that will blow past any defense system. It's impossible. We have a missile one missile can destroy 4 states. Okay. And then they have hypersonic technology, as well as China, as well as India, Pakistan. And then the kicker is Europe, the EU. They're going to turn on America. The beast shall hate the horse. So it's going to be worse for you Americans. You Americans not going to know. You're going to be afraid. You're going to really see fear in these people out. Like the woman, you're going to really see fear in the woman's eyes. Okay. The man, he's going to be able to more so contain himself. Really, the Israelite man, because the scriptures say how the let me get that. I believe we can go to Jeremiah 30. Jeremiah 30, right, in 6, it says, ask ye now and see whether a man does travail with child. Meaning, does a man have a child? Is a man pregnant? You know, like there is a man going to labor pains? Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins, as a woman in travail, and all faces are turned into paleness. Why? Because what's coming? Okay. The hour of temptation, Jacob's trouble. And then ultimately, not only the nuclear missiles are coming, so that's guaranteed, but the fear of missiles coming. Okay. And I believe that there's going to be another nuclear attack somewhere. Okay. So it's going to happen somewhere. It's going to kind of die down for a minute. It's going to change. It's going to change the world. Okay. And set the precedent for all out war. But there could be some strategic nuclear missile hit in the United States, whether it's a pocket nuke. Remember the scriptures say that the Carmenians shall waste part of Babylon. So them Persians, they going to get a lick. They're going to be able to throw a stone. Okay. There could be a pocket nuke. There could be whatever. Okay. And you have brothers that had, visions of stuff like that where, okay, for example, you in Iran and Russia, you got bombs, missiles, and drones being flown into the capital of Russia, Moscow, and exploding, killing people. Just think if that was happening in Washington, D.C., if you had drone attacks, okay, in Washington, D.C., when every day you heard sirens, in particular infrastructure, is being destroyed. That wouldn't the American people be in a different spirit? So you have to think about that. Let me just finish this last verse here. Right? Verse 7. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. Again, I read Revelation 15, how the remnant got victory. So the remnant elect here in America, so-called Black, Hispanic, Native Americans, you're going to have Israelite foreigners as well. They're going to wake up to the fact that they're Israelites and turn back to the Lord because it's the spirit that's inside of them. They're going to be delivered. Some of us are going to get our heads chopped off. You gotta make it in your mind and be prepared for that. That your faith might have to come down to that. Okay, some of our faith will be challenged on that level. Nevertheless, you're gonna have men, these mighty men, right? The mighty man, the wealthy man, the warlike man, these MMA fighters and boxers, and they're gonna all be like bitches. Okay? They're going to all be like bitches. So how much more a woman? So I'm going to close there. Until next time, shalom to the elect.